Every nurse in the hospital had given up on him. They called him the half-dead man in room 12. To them, Patrick Olayemi was nothing more than a lifeless body waiting for time to finish its work. But there was one nurse who refused to see him that way. Amara. Every morning, she would wipe his face, speak softly to him, and read from her favorite novels, as if her words alone could reach where medicine could not. Then, one quiet afternoon, as her voice danced through the pages of Things Fall Apart, Patrick's fingers twitched. His eyelids fluttered. And for the first time in months, the half-dead man opened his eyes, to the sound of her voice. "Sit tight. Let me tell you a story that'll touch your heart. Watch till the end. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this." The morning sun hung lazily above Lagos traffic, pouring golden light over glass buildings and impatient horns. Inside a sleek black SUV, Patrick Olayemi adjusted his cufflinks as the car weaved through the busy street. His phone buzzed for the third time in a minute. He smiled faintly. It was Vanessa. "Babe," her voice purred through the speaker. "Are you close to the meeting venue?" "Almost there," Patrick replied, glancing at his wristwatch. "If this deal goes through, it's going to be the biggest in my career. Millions of naira, Vanessa. Just imagine." Vanessa giggled softly. "Then I'll start imagining the kind of shopping I'll do when that money drops." Patrick chuckled. "Always thinking about spending, aren't you?" "Always thinking about you," she teased. He smiled again, his heart light. Everything seemed perfect. The business deal, the woman he loved, the future he was building. But fate, as it often does, had its own script written for him. As Patrick's car approached a busy intersection, a delivery van lost control, skidding wildly across the road. Tires screeched, horns blared, and before Patrick could react, the world exploded into chaos. Metal crunched against metal. The airbag burst open. His phone flew from his hand. Then, darkness. Hours later, the sterile hum of the St. Mary's Hospital echoed softly. The emergency ward buzzed with nurses moving briskly between patients. A stranger, the same man who had dragged Patrick from the wreck, stood at the counter, his shirt stained with dust and blood. "This was all I found beside him," the man said, handing over Patrick's phone to the nurse. "No ID card, no wallet. Just this." The doctor on duty, Dr. Idris, nodded. "Thank you for bringing him. We'll take it from here." Patrick lay motionless on the bed, his face bandaged, a tube running to his arm. Machines beeped steadily beside him, keeping rhythm with his fragile heartbeat. Dr. Idris scrolled through the phone, searching for clues about the unconscious man's identity. He stopped at the call log. The last outgoing call was to Vanessa. He dialed. "Hello," came a woman's voice, slightly impatient. "This is Dr. Idris from St. Mary's Hospital," he said calmly. "Someone was brought in after a terrible accident. We found this phone beside him, and you're the last person he called." There was a long pause. "Oh my God," she gasped. Is he alive?" "He's alive, but he's in a coma. You might want to come immediately." "I'm on my way." Within an hour, Vanessa rushed into the hospital, her red heels clacking against the white-tiled floor. Her makeup was flawless, her perfume sweet and sharp. But her face went pale when she saw Patrick. He looked nothing like the confident CEO she knew. Pale, broken, still. Tears welled up in her eyes, or perhaps they were more of shock than sorrow. She turned to the doctor. "Will he survive?" Dr. Idris sighed. "It's hard to say. The head injury was severe. We'll keep him on observation, but it could take weeks, maybe months." Vanessa bit her lip, stepping closer to the bed. She stared at Patrick's still form for a long moment, then pulled out his wallet from his briefcase. Inside, she found his ATM card and a piece of paper with his PIN written on it. A nurse walked in quietly. "Ma, are you a family member?" "Yes," Vanessa said quickly. "I'm his fiancée. I'll handle all the bills." The nurse nodded gratefully. Vanessa settled everything with Patrick's money before walking out of the hospital, her heels clicking away, sharp, confident, final. She didn't look back. Days turned into weeks. The world outside moved on, but in that quiet hospital room, time stood still. Most of the staff had stopped expecting Patrick to wake up. They called him the silent man in room 12. But there was one nurse who refused to see him that way. Her name was Amara. She was young, gentle-faced, with a voice soft as a lullaby. Every morning, while others hurried past room 12, she would stop, push open the door, and step inside. "Good morning, sir," she would say cheerfully, even though Patrick never responded. "It's another bright day. You're stronger than yesterday, I can feel it." She'd clean his wounds, change his sheets, wipe his face with warm water, and sometimes, when the ward was quiet, she'd sit beside him and read aloud from a novel. Other nurses would whisper as they passed by, "Why waste your time, Amara? He's practically gone." But she'd just smile faintly. "He's still breathing, isn't he? That means hope still lives." At night, when the ward lights dimmed and the city outside went silent, she would hum songs, slow, peaceful tunes, and imagine he could hear them somewhere in his sleep. Meanwhile, Vanessa had long forgotten the man she once called love. She wore designer dresses now, drove his expensive car, and hosted weekend parties in his mansion. His company, Alayemi Holdings, was now under her name, thanks to some forged documents and a bribed lawyer. Whenever someone mentioned Patrick, she would wave it off. "He's gone," she'd say. "I've moved on." Her laughter echoed through marble halls that once held Patrick's dreams. One stormy night, Amara was alone in the Coma room, reading Things Fall Apart aloud. Rain tapped gently against the window, and the air smelled of antiseptic and hope. And when Okonkwo looked back at the burning house, he felt a strange calm, she read softly. Then, movement. A faint twitch. Amara froze. Patrick's right hand moved, just slightly, as though reaching for something unseen. Her heart jumped. "Sir," she whispered, stepping closer. "Can you hear me?" His fingers twitched again. Then his eyelids fluttered. For the first time in months, Patrick Alayemi opened his eyes. Tears filled Amara's eyes instantly. She pressed the call button, but before she left, Patrick's dry lips moved. "Where am I?" he croaked, his voice barely a whisper. "You're in the hospital," Amara said gently, holding his trembling hand. "You've been unconscious for a long time. My name is Nurse Amara." His eyes met hers, weak, confused, but alive. She smiled through her tears. "You're safe now." When Dr. Idris arrived, his astonishment was evident. "This is incredible," he said, checking Patrick's pulse. "You've done well, Amara." Patrick tried to speak again but stopped, his brow furrowed. "I can't remember anything." "It's normal," the doctor assured him. "Your memory will return with time." Amara squeezed his hand softly. "Don't worry. Don't force it. You'll be fine. I'll be right here with you." And for the first time since the accident, a faint smile curved Patrick's lips. Outside, the rain stopped. The night was quiet again, but inside room 12, hope had finally awakened. Morning sunlight slipped through the hospital blinds, spilling across Patrick's face. His eyes blinked slowly as they adjusted to the brightness. Every movement was a struggle, every breath a reminder that he was alive, though his mind remained a blank slate. Nurse Amara entered quietly, carrying a tray with his breakfast. "Good morning," she said with her usual warmth. "It's nice to see those eyes open again." Patrick gave a faint smile. His voice was still raspy. "Morning, a nurse." Amara chuckled softly. "You can just call me Amara." She helped him sit up, her hands gentle but firm. "You need strength, so you'll have to eat a little," she said, placing the tray before him. "Oatmeal and fruit. Doctor's orders." Patrick nodded, though his appetite was weak. He took a spoonful and paused. "How long have I been here?" Amara hesitated. "Almost 4 months." His eyes widened slightly. 4 months. "Yes," she said quietly. "You've been in a coma since the accident." He lowered his gaze to the tray. "Accident," he repeated, the word heavy with confusion. "Do you know who I am?" Amara shook her head gently. "No one came for you. You didn't have any identification when they brought you in. The doctors said you might remember in time." Patrick closed his eyes, frustration crossing his face. "It's strange," he murmured. "I see flashes, lights, a woman's voice, laughter, but it all fades away before I can hold on to it. Amara touched his hand softly. Don't force it. Memories have a way of returning when you least expect them. For a moment, silence filled the room. Only the beeping of the heart monitor and the soft rustle of Amara's uniform could be heard. Then Patrick looked up at her. Why did you keep caring for me, he asked, when everyone thought I wouldn't wake up? Her lips curved into a shy smile. Because I believed you would. You looked like someone who still had a story left to tell. Over the next few weeks, Patrick began to heal, physically and emotionally. Amara was by his side every step of the way. She encouraged him to walk again, holding his arm as they took slow steps down the corridor. Left foot first, she would say. Now the right. Good. You're doing great. Sometimes he'd stumble, and she'd laugh softly. You walk like a toddler learning balance. Then I'll need a teacher like you, he'd reply, smiling. Their friendship blossomed quietly, like flowers growing unnoticed after rain. Amara's laughter became his favorite sound. She told him stories about her small-town childhood, about her mother's love for gospel songs, about her dream of opening a free clinic one day. Patrick listened intently, fascinated. She was different, kind, selfless, real. One afternoon, as Amara changed his bandage, Patrick asked, "Do I ever get visitors?" She hesitated, pretending to focus on the dressing. "No," she said finally. "No one's come." He frowned. "So, no family, no friends?" "Maybe you have them," Amara said softly. "They just don't know where you are." Patrick stared at the ceiling. Something inside him ached, like an echo of a forgotten heartbreak. He didn't know why, but he felt abandoned. Across the city, Vanessa was living the dream she had stolen. She stepped out of a luxury car, wearing designer sunglasses and a diamond necklace that sparkled in the sunlight. Her mansion buzzed with guests, music, laughter, and the smell of champagne. She had changed the company's documents, taken control of Patrick's bank accounts, and silenced anyone who dared question her. Whenever people mentioned Patrick, she would laugh. He was reckless, she'd say. Always chasing deals. I warned him about that trip. Deep inside, though, she feared the truth might one day return, in flesh and blood. Back at the hospital, Patrick's recovery continued steadily. Every day, his steps grew firmer, his voice stronger. But the hole in his memory remained. He and Amara had grown close, closer than either of them realized. One evening, after dinner, Amara sat beside him reading aloud from a novel. Her voice carried warmth and rhythm. Patrick watched her, the way her lips moved, the way her eyes softened when she read. When she looked up, she caught him staring. "What?" she asked with a small smile. "Nothing," he said, smiling back. "Just, you make this place feel less like a hospital." Amara laughed gently. "Flattery won't get you discharged any sooner." "I'm not in a hurry," he replied. "Not if it means leaving you behind." Her laughter faded into silence. Their eyes met, a long, quiet look that said what neither of them dared to voice. Then Amara stood, blushing slightly. "It's late. You need rest." As she walked out, Patrick whispered to himself, "Thank you for bringing me back to life." Weeks passed. Patrick could now walk on his own, his strength fully restored. Yet the mystery of his past haunted him. One morning, Dr. Idris entered with a smile. "Mr. Patrick, congratulations. You're finally fit to leave the hospital." Patrick nodded slowly. "Leave? But where would I go? I don't even know who I am." Before the doctor could respond, Amara spoke up. "He can stay with me, at least until he figures things out." The doctor looked surprised but nodded approvingly. "You have a good heart, Amara. Not everyone would do that." And so, a few days later, Patrick left the hospital, not to return home, but to Amara's small apartment on the outskirts of the city. Life outside the hospital was strange but peaceful. Amara's apartment was modest, 2 rooms, neatly arranged, smelling faintly of lavender and hope. She made him breakfast every morning, teaching him how to fry eggs and brew tea. They'd walk together to the market, laughing over silly things. Patrick started helping her fix broken things around the house. The fan, the door hinge, even her squeaky window. He didn't know how he knew, but his hands worked skillfully, like they remembered something he didn't. One night, as they sat eating dinner, Amara smiled at him. "You know, you might have been an engineer or something." Patrick laughed softly. "Or maybe just someone who liked fixing broken things." Amara looked at him meaningfully. "Even broken people can be fixed, with love and patience." Their eyes lingered on each other again, the air thick with unspoken emotion. A week later, something changed. Amara was handing Patrick a glass of water for his medicine when it slipped from her hand and crashed to the floor. The sharp sound startled him. He froze, his eyes wide, his hand clutching his head. "Patrick, are you okay?" Amara rushed to him. He winced in pain as flashes of memory struck like lightning. The car crash. The phone call. A woman's face, Vanessa's face, smiling wickedly. The hospital bed. Betrayal. His breathing quickened. I remember," he gasped. Amara held him tightly. "What do you remember?" "I'm Patrick Olayemi," he said slowly, tears filling his eyes. "I'm the CEO of Olayemi Holdings. I was going to a meeting, and Vanessa, my girlfriend, she never came for me." Amara's heart pounded. She brushed his hair back gently. "It's okay. You're safe now." Patrick shook his head. "She left me there, didn't she? She took everything from me." Amara didn't answer. She just held him closer, letting him cry. For the first time since the accident, he felt both pain and peace, because he finally remembered who he was. And because in the arms of the woman who saved him, he finally knew what real love felt like. The morning air was still when Patrick opened his eyes. For the first time since the accident, his mind was clear. Memories, sharp and painful, had returned in fragments through the night. He lay staring at the ceiling of Amara's apartment, listening to the faint clatter of dishes from the kitchen. Amara's voice floated in softly. "You should rest. You barely slept." Patrick sat up, running a hand through his hair. "I can't rest, Amara. She took everything, my company, my house, my life. I can't just sit here." Amara walked in, wiping her hands on a towel. "I know. But don't let anger drive you. You're still healing." He looked at her, his eyes full of gratitude and quiet determination. "If it weren't for you, I'd still be lying there in that hospital bed. I owe you everything. But I need to face her. I need to see Vanessa with my own eyes." Amara hesitated. "Then I'm coming with you." Patrick nodded slowly. "I wouldn't have it any other way." By mid-morning, they stood at the gates of Olayemi Holdings, once Patrick's empire. The tall glass building gleamed beneath the sun, but it felt strange, almost hostile. A new logo had been added beneath the company name, Vanessa Global Group. Patrick clenched his fists. She even changed the name. Two uniformed security men blocked their path. "Good morning," Patrick said firmly. "I'm here to see the board. I'm Patrick Olayemi, the founder of this company." The taller guard frowned. "Sir, please step aside. The owner of this company is Madam Vanessa Oladil. There's no Patrick Olayemi here." Patrick's jaw tightened. "I built this place from the ground up. Before he could finish, a sleek black car rolled up the driveway. Out stepped Vanessa, dressed in an elegant red gown, her sunglasses reflecting the morning light. Her laughter echoed as she greeted a group of business partners. Then she saw him. Her smile froze. For a split second, fear flickered in her eyes, but it vanished quickly, replaced by cold disdain. "What's going on here?" she demanded, her heels clicking as she approached. Patrick took a step forward, disbelief and pain etched on his face. "Vanessa, it's me. Patrick." She blinked, feigning confusion. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" His heart broke all over again. "Vanessa, stop this. I almost died in that accident. You left me in a hospital, in a coma, and you took everything. My company, my money, my home." People nearby began to whisper. Vanessa let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "This is ridiculous. Someone get this madman out of my property before I call the police." The guards moved forward, but Amara stepped between them and Patrick. "Don't touch him," she said firmly. "He's telling the truth. This man is Patrick Olayemi, And you know it." Vanessa turned to Amara with a sneer. "And who are you?" "His nurse." "You should have left him where you found him." Patrick's chest heaved. "I trusted you," he said quietly. "I loved you." Vanessa's expression hardened. "Then you were a fool." Patrick's heart felt like it was tearing in two. The woman he once thought was his future now stood before him, a stranger wearing greed like perfume. Amara gently took his hand. "Let's go," she whispered. "We'll handle this the right way." As they walked away, Vanessa's laughter trailed behind them, cold and hollow. Back at Amara's apartment, Patrick sat in silence. His reflection in the window looked like that of a man who had lost everything. Amara poured him a cup of tea and sat beside him. "I made some calls," she said quietly. "A friend of mine works with a lawyer who handles corporate fraud. He's agreed to take your case." Patrick turned to her, his eyes softening. "You did that for me?" Amara smiled faintly. "Of course. You deserve justice." He looked down at her hands, small, strong, steady. "I don't know what I did to deserve someone like you, Amara." She blushed, brushing a stray curl from her face. "Just promise me you won't give up, no matter what." "I won't," he said. "Not anymore." 2 days later, they met with barrister Colonel Adebayo, a seasoned lawyer with sharp eyes and a calm voice. He listened carefully as Patrick told his story, showing him photos, documents, and even his old company ID that Amara had retrieved from the hospital records. "This is a strong case," Colonel said finally. "She committed fraud and identity theft. We'll file immediately. But we need to prepare for a fight. Vanessa won't give up easily." Patrick nodded. "I'm ready." Amara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We both are." Meanwhile, news of Patrick's return spread through whispers and boardroom gossip. Vanessa tried to suppress it, but rumors travel fast. By the time the court summons reached her desk, her carefully built world had already begun to crack. "What nonsense is this?" she shouted, slamming the papers on her desk. "He can't prove anything." Her assistant, trembling, stammered, "Ma, the lawyer says the case has strong evidence. His fingerprints, medical reports, even the company registration history." "Get out!" Vanessa snapped, throwing a pen across the room. For the first time, fear crept into her confidence. The courtroom was full on the day of the hearing. Reporters lined the hallway. Former employees whispered as Patrick walked in beside Amara. He wore a navy suit, simple but dignified. Amara sat behind him, her eyes steady and full of faith. Vanessa arrived moments later, flanked by expensive lawyers and dressed in white, like innocence itself. But her hands trembled as she adjusted her handbag. The judge called for silence. Over hours of testimony, Patrick's lawyer presented evidence. Patrick's hospital records, bank statements showing Vanessa's unauthorized transfers, and even a witness, the stranger who had rescued Patrick from the accident. Each revelation hit Vanessa like a hammer. Her confidence began to crumble. When it was Patrick's turn to speak, the room fell silent. "I built that company from nothing," he said, his voice steady but emotional. "I trusted Vanessa with my heart, my plans, and my future. When I needed her most, she abandoned me. But what hurts most isn't losing money or property. It's realizing that love can be so empty in the wrong hands." He turned slightly toward Amara. "But it can also be real again, when given to someone pure." Amara's eyes glistened with tears. The judge, moved by the evidence and Patrick's sincerity, delivered his verdict. "After reviewing all documents and testimonies, this court hereby restores full ownership of Olayemi Holdings to Mr. Patrick Olayemi. Miss Vanessa Oladiel is found guilty of fraud and embezzlement and is sentenced to 5 years imprisonment." Gasps filled the courtroom. Vanessa's face turned pale as officers stepped forward to escort her out. "You'll regret this," she shouted as she was led away. "You'll both regret it." But Patrick didn't look at her. His gaze was fixed only on Amara, who was crying softly with relief. He walked to her, took her hands in his, and whispered, "It's over." Amara nodded through her tears. "You got your life back." He smiled gently. "Not just my life." That evening, as the sun dipped behind the city skyline, Patrick and Amara stood outside the courthouse steps. The crowd had dispersed, the air calm and golden. Patrick turned to her, his voice low but certain. Amara, you gave me something no one else ever could, hope. When everyone else left me, you stayed. I don't just want to thank you. I want to love you, if you'll let me. Amara's eyes widened, her heart trembling with joy. I love you too, Patrick, she whispered. I think I have, from the moment you opened your eyes. He smiled, pulling her into his arms as the fading sunlight wrapped them both in warmth. The pain of betrayal had birthed something new, something pure, unbreakable, and real. Patrick's journey from betrayal and despair to love and justice is just one story. There are so many more waiting to inspire you. If this story moved you, like, comment, and share your favorite part. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that touch the heart. Also, tell us in the comments where and what time you're watching from. We'd love to connect with you.